Hey everybody, it's Rick. I know I keep promising it. Here it comes, the year-end videos. I'm splitting them up into two different videos. I will also let you know that RJ is sitting right by my left. So if you hear any coughing or anything not coming from me, it is him. He is now fighting the cold that I've had for about a month. Hopefully he doesn't have it as bad as I do, or did. So there will be a lot of talking in these videos. So, lots of talking, so I'm hoping I'll get through them without any problems. The first video is going to be my worst, if you will, of 2018. So I'll have my least favorite movies. Before I get a bunch of comments saying that some movies are better than other movies, this is my opinion. Same thing with my best list when it comes out. So this is all my opinion. Normally I used to do a top 10 and bottom 10. This year I'm doing a 15 just because I've seen over 100 movies that were released this year. My best of will have honorable mentions. I have one dishonorable mention. The only reason I have one dishonorable mention is I decided anything I gave 1.5 stars or lower to is going to be on my worst list. Anything I gave 4 stars or higher to is going to be on my best list. And it was 15 things on my worst list, but I have, since I was sick and haven't had a chance to record this video, I've watched something else that is going to be on my worst of the year list. So, with that being said, Night School went from spot 15 to my dishonorable mention. I just was not a fan. I find Tiffany Haddish to be funny. I should say I found her to be funny in Girls Trip. I did not care for that movie. I have yet to see her in a movie that I actually thoroughly enjoy. Everything I've seen her in, I have not really been a fan of. I do find her funny, but have not yet loved her in anything. So that moved down to my dishonorable mention, and now my new number 15, a movie that I recently watched this past week. And apparently some people love it. It was a movie I watched out of my comfort zone, and I thought it was very self-indulgent and full of itself. That is the 2018 version of Suspiria, starring Dakota Johnson. I did not care for the movie. I thought the movie was extremely boring, overlong. Cate Blanchett plays 3 different roles, and that was great, but the roles, I found them to be extremely boring, and the movie was trying its hardest to be off-putting and weird. It succeeded in being weird, but I just was disappointed in the movie and did not care for it. Excuse me. Number 14 is Gemini. I don't want to go into too much details with these movies, or else this video is going to be like an hour long. It's basically about a girl who's a celebrity and her friend who is basically like her manager or publicist, and it's kind of like a murder mystery. Just was not very good. Number 13, Arizona, starring Danny McBride. Felt like a Showtime TV series to an extent. That was basically a long episode of something that would be on Showtime. I did not find it amusing. I did not like it. It felt flat in a lot of aspects for me. You know, there was good supporting cast, and yet there was nothing for them to really do, in my opinion. Number 12, Uncle Drew. I went and saw it back when I had Movie Pass, and literally it was starting at 5:45. I was passing a movie theater at 5:40. I had nothing to do that night, and I was like, let me go see Uncle Drew. It just came out today. And I went and saw it, and it was pretty terrible, like I kind of expected it to be. Once again, Tiffany Haddish in a movie that I don't care for, and she was kind of annoying in that movie. Nick Kroll was definitely the highlight of the movie, and that's not really saying much in my opinion. Number 11, When We First Met, starring Adam Devine, a Netflix movie. That is the first of 2 Netflix movies. I I don't watch a ton of movies on Netflix, so there probably would be a lot more on here if I did. Most of these are major motion pictures, if you will. So yeah, When We First Met is like a romantic comedy, and the guy basically keeps getting to relive the day he meets this girl he falls in love with, and like trying to make her fall in love with him, and yeah, it's very lame. Now for the bottom 10, if you will. Number 10, Mile 22 with Mark Wahlberg, Lauren Cohen, John Malkovich, Ronda Rousey. Just a mess of a movie. This is now my 1-star tier, so those first group of movies I gave 1.5 stars to. This is on my 1-star tier. Just a mess of a movie. The editing was really bad. Felt like it was like an early 2000s, late 90s action movie. I will say the guy, and I don't know his name, that's in the Raid movies was the highlight of the movie. He had a couple really cool action scenes, but other than those action scenes, and one of them was horribly edited. The movie was just awful, hard to sit through. Number 9, The Hurricane Heist. Felt like something that should be on the Sci-Fi Channel. Just a terrible action movie with a horrible premise. Basically, these bank robbers are going to steal money from the National Reserve during the worst hurricane ever. It is just a mess. Made from the people who gave you Fast and Furious, so that kind of explains it. Number 8, Life of the Party with Melissa McCarthy. Another awful Melissa McCarthy movie in 2018. Keeping the trend going. I will mention on my best of video, I have not yet seen Can You Ever Forgive Me, but I have heard amazing things because she's not doing her typical Melissa McCarthy role. So I actually look forward to really checking that one out and seeing what a serious, dramatic Melissa McCarthy can bring us. But Life of the Party was just awful. It was not funny. Very disappointing for a comedy. And speaking of comedies that were disappointing, number 7, The Spy Who Dumped Me. You have Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon in an R-rated action comedy, buddy comedy, romantic comedy. Oh man, I did not like this movie. I've seen a lot of comedies, and I've seen a lot of bad comedies. There's still some to come on my list, and this year there felt like there was a lot of just mediocrity in movies. Looking at my best of list, there's some really good titles on there, but not a ton of stuff that I absolutely loved and would consider something I'd watch a ton in the future. But like I said, that'll be the next video. Number 6, the last 1-star movie of the year, and that's before we get to the half-star stuff, guys. So we're talking about big stinkers coming. Truth or Dare. Blumhouse does really well at the projects it chooses most of the time. I really enjoyed Happy Death Day. I'm looking forward to seeing Happy Death Day 2. Everything they kind of put their hands on turns to gold. And Truth or Dare, I'm sure, made money. It was a PG-13 horror movie. But, oh my gosh. It just, to quote myself, hot trash. This list is full of hot trash, and this is where we really get into the upper echelon of hot trash. Truth or Dare was just a terrible movie. The ending was awful, basically with YouTube, and I'm not going to say much more than that. Just terrible, and they're, I guess, setting up for a sequel, which I hope we don't get. So yeah, now the top 5 or bottom 5 of the year, in my opinion. All movies I gave a half-star to. So I rate my movies on a 5-star scale. I use the Letterboxd scale, as you guys know that follow me on Letterboxd. So these are basically movies I gave a 1 out of 10, a half-star, an F2. Number 5, another Netflix original, The Week Of, starring Adam Sandler and Chris Rock, about their daughter and son getting married. Adam Sandler, how far you have fallen, man. I just watched Happy Gilmore today with RJ. Just a really funny comedy movie. Nothing amazing, but just funny. I think of stuff like Big Daddy, Click, Billy Madison, Bulletproof. He had so many just good movies. Not great movies, but just good movies. Even stuff like The First Grown Ups is entertaining. I love like Just Go With It, Blended, 50 First Dates, Wedding Singer. But then this new Netflix era of Adam Sandler, it is awful, guys. It is terrible.
Keep on reading.
In the middle of my video. So just awful, terrible. The week of, don't bother, don't waste your time. Number 4, the 1517 to Paris, directed by Clint Eastwood. It stars the 3 gentlemen who the movie is based on. I wish they would have went with actors, although I don't think that would have helped the movie. Basically, everything that's exciting in the movie, you see in the minute and 30-second trailer that came out before the movie was released. The first hour and 10 minutes of this movie is just like setup of how these guys became friends and joined the military, and the last 10 minutes is what you see in the trailers, and it's what's exciting. It was brutal. It was an like 85-minute movie. It felt like 2 hours. It was not a good time. It was tough. It was tough to swallow. Speaking of tough to swallow, number 3, 50 Shades Freed. That was a PG-13 joke, guys. It shouldn't surprise anyone that this movie is this high up on my list. What should surprise you is that there are 2 movies that I thought were worse than this. 50 Shades Freed, I knew it was going to be bad. Actually went and saw this in the movies, once again thanks to MoviePass. It was one of those things where I had seen the first 2 and I was like, I got to see how this train wreck ends. And I did, and it was awful. And I've seen it, so now I don't ever need to watch those movies again. I don't own them, nor will I own them at any point in time. The one thing I do want to mention with this list is I have not seen Sharknado 6. And where I do love the Sharknado movies, when I rate, even if I love it and it's awful, it would probably still be on this list. If you watched last year's worst, I'm sure Sharknado 5 was on there. If you look at my Letterboxd worst of the year movies, I'm sure Sharknado movies are on there, but I find them fun and enjoyable. That's the one thing I will say about this list is I do not own any of these movies or plan on ever owning any of these movies. Number 2, Tyler Perry's Acrimony, starring Taraji P. Henson and some guys that he hired off the streets. At least I hope that would be where they came from, because the acting was horrible. It was like watching a local theater production. So Taraji P. Henson decides that she needs to overact and be crazy and over the top in all the scenes she's in with these people. And it is horrible. It is 2 hours. It was advertised as something totally different than what it actually was. It was a weird, terrible, off-putting movie. That was not enjoyable and basically became something that my girlfriend and I were laughing at about halfway through, and just saying the most bizarre stuff was going to happen, and it was happening, and just an awful, terrible, terrible time. Very painful to get through. But now, the number 1 movie, the most painful movie of the year to sit through, the worst of the year. What is it? John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell, Holmes and Watson. What a piece of garbage. A movie that was not funny at all. A movie that when it was out and initially came out, there was lots of press surrounding it saying that Netflix wouldn't even buy it, and Netflix buys all these Adam Sandler movies and other just movies that I heard are terrible. So the fact that Netflix was declining it, then it came out that people, I guess Sony did test screenings, and the people were like, there's no saving this movie. Like, all the stuff that you need to do to fix this movie, it's too late unless you remake the movie. You know, I give Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly the benefit of the doubt. I like it. Talladega Nights a lot more than most people. Step Brothers is one of the greatest comedy movies of the last 15 years. You know, even some of their stuff that people don't like as much, I enjoy to an extent. This was horrible. So painful to sit through. Once again, a 90-minute movie that I think I was nodding off at multiple times in the movie theater. Just because there were no laughs, there was nothing happening. Felt like it was written by like a 6-year-old at times. Some of the jokes they were trying to push off, just really, really a disappointment. Like just awful. The only joke that somewhat hit was at the very end of the movie with about 5 minutes left, and it had nothing to do with any of the main actors. It was a callback to the movie Titanic and an actor in that. And, I'm not going to spoil the actual joke, but please do yourselves a favor. Do not, this just got announced. It's coming to Blu-ray and 4K, I think, in April, the beginning of the month. Don't waste $2 at Redbox. Don't waste a free rental on it. Just save the hour and a half of your life and watch something else. Watch the news. Watch 50 Shades Freed. At least you can laugh at how bad that is. Holmes and Watson just made me frustrated and angry that I paid money to go see it. It was awful. So that's it, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. What were some of your least favorite movies of the year? Let me know if you agree with my list. Let me know if you didn't agree with anything on my list. It is up for debate as my personal opinion, like I said. I'll be dropping my favorite movies or best of 2018 shortly. I'm going to put out this one first, give it a couple days to marinate, and then drop the best of. I'm going to record it right after this. So that's it, guys. As always, you can check out my links down below. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies, plus keep my list going so you can see all 105 movies of 2018 that I've watched so far and how they rank. I would wait until the new video comes out with the best of if you don't want to spoil that. And that's it, guys. So as always, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Leave comments. I will leave them back. And until next time, as always, who's down to movie?
Who's down to movie? Hold on. Who's down to movie?